Sheriff Brown, my first question for you is, how do you lead through crises, particularly in today's environment where law enforcement is just, the scrutiny is just so high?
The leadership starts for a crisis ahead of the crisis. You don't wait until it's time when you have a crisis. You have to prepare. And so that's the key, is you have to start preparing for a crisis ahead of time. In law enforcement, we are those folks who always have to consider what if, what about when? And so that's how we start in terms of leadership. And I say you lead from the front. That means that what you ask folks to do, you be willing to participate in as well. You don't just ask other folks to do it. And so it's important that you be willing to do the same things, but you have to prepare. That is the key, getting ready ahead of the crisis.
Constable Hammond, what role do women leaders play in strengthening relationships between law enforcement and the communities that they serve?
Their role would be presence, first and foremost, being visible in the community, being available, and like Sheriff Brown said, being there before the crisis starts. Being in that role, you have to be available. You have to be transparent in this position. And when I say transparent, if you don't know what you're doing or you don't know the answer to the question, simply say, I don't have that answer. I'll get back to you when I do. And make sure that people trust you. So if you say you're going to do something, do what you say. Leadership is not about how you lead. It's about listening. So leadership starts with listening. If you listen, that's how you lead.
Since we're talking about the leadership, Constable Gulley, as a woman in a leadership role within law enforcement, how has your perspective influenced the way you lead your team and serve the community?
Wow. I will say that being a leader, a female leader, it's about really understanding. A lot of people just want to be heard. So you have to be a good listener, first of all. You have to be understanding, compassionate, and within the community, because you're faced with different crises every single day. Nothing is the same every day. So within the community, it's about respecting, and I always say, a person wants you to listen. So you have to be a good listener, and we all can relate to that. It's, you spell the constable down, Constable Hammond, and as well as the sheriff, as far as out in the field and having the respect for others, and pretty much the community is the same. Is the same thing.
Thank you for that. Judge Gibbons, you have been elected to one of the to this path, and what does this moment mean to you personally?
Well, thank you, Soror. Um, you know, gosh, I would say God, first of all, right? Because I've played a lot of different roles in the justice system. I was a line prosecutor in New York and in Texas before I ever took the bench. I was a judge for 10 years, but I was also a family member of someone that was impacted by the justice system. And so it always comes back to me, there's so much responsibility associated with that power. Right. And so it's never been about an elected position for me. It's always been about the service. Right. And so for me, it's about bridging the gap between the community and the courthouse, because trust is key. And that trust you only get from the people when they know that you truly believe that the system should be held accountable to all people. Right. And so it means a great deal to me to be able to sit behind Mr. Watkins, my mentor, right? Because he did great things here in Dallas County. And I'm ready and excited about the work that we're going to do at the DA's office to start back where he left off. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
So we're talking about work. So Miss Randolph, Can you share an example of a reform effort or community initiative that you've led, and what was the measurable impact of that?
Hi, thank you so much for that question. I think in my capacity as being the criminal justice director in Dallas County, one of our charges are not just thinking about what we do or any one person or entity does in their respective departments, but how we operate as a system. And I am very proud of the reforms that have happened over the last since I've been here 13 years and shifting the focus from operating in silos to more systemic approaches in work. We in Criminal Justice Department live by, we are one Dallas County. And anytime we have an opportunity to share that message with others, that's exactly what we do. I believe as we rise as one, we fall as one. And so I think that having an opportunity to think about the work that we do collectively and the impact of that, I think that we have better outcomes with that. And I think that also people when we talk about the criminal justice system, we're not talking, and the issues that impact our system, we're not just talking about the issues that impact the DA's office or the sheriff's office or the courts independently. All of those entities work together. You also have the defense, you have the clerks. People may not think about them as part of the criminal justice system. You have budget. That's another entity that also impacts how we do our work together. I think that even as the core mission of the Criminal Justice Department is to help manage jail population, we have implemented lots of reform in the way that we communicate with stakeholders to ensure that there is no one in that county jail that is there unnecessarily. And we work with everyone to help make sure that cases move through the system efficiently, but also not just the operational, but also just improving the outcomes and lives of those people that we serve every day. I will just give you just a brief stat. From January through March of this year, our department has researched 12,838 individuals to see if there is anything impacting their ability to move through the system efficiently. 35% of those people we researched needed some type of coordination. 35%. Over 2,000 people were released after Criminal Justice Department, as well as our coordination with all the stakeholders, work together to ensure that those people move through the system. So before our intervention, those group of 2,000 people had an average length of stay of 88 days. That is $20 million for those individuals that had a length of stay of 88 days. After we worked together, those same individuals had a length of stay of 48 days. That is a 40-day average difference and a $9 million difference. And so I think that those are measurable outcomes that we can all point to and we can all be proud of. And that is what happens when we work together and we stay together.
So just to kind of piggyback off of that, Judge Givens, sorry. What transformational change in public safety or the criminal justice system is important to you, and why is that?
All right. So at the DA's office, we are going to prioritize ensuring that we strengthen the confidence in the system and the process overall, right? I think that's key because public safety is not about convictions. It's not about case numbers. That you're not just focused on arresting people, right? The communities have to believe that it's about the real work being done, right? And this robust intake department will ensure that prosecutors have the information that they need on the front end to make sound decisions, right? And so that's one thing I'm extremely excited about is the change that.
Thank you for that. That was very, very, very detailed. So I that. Constable Gulley, I'm just curious if you have ever encountered moments where you had to assert your authority or credibility differently from your male partners? And if you had to, can you please share some examples and how that went down?
You really want to know?
I think so. I think so.
Well, that's a good one. I will say this. As you look at this panel, we are all females, women of color, and in charge. No pun intended against you men, but it's you have to be firm, but they want you to be feminine at the same time. So are we challenged all the time, especially by men? And if you haven't noticed, women, Black women in Dallas are doing great things, and we will continue. I will tell you this. I can go. Okay. I get, my mom would ask me, why do you want to do this job? And I say this every time I speak. Why do you want to do this job? They're going to talk about you. I said, Mama, they do that now. They're going to lie on you. Oh, trust me. I get that too. They're going to call you everything but the name that's on that badge. And I say, and I get that too. But my thing is, if I didn't have anything of value to offer the community or to offer God, Satan or they wouldn't have a reason to attack me. So when that happens, I say, is that all you got? But I'm definitely challenged. We are challenged every single day. I'm not sure as to why, well, I do know why, the men seem to, at one point, and I'll be honest with you, at one point it was to where you would be more challenged with a male because we are working in a male dominant role, positions that we do. But I will have to tell you, and I'm going to switch that question because believe it or not, it is other females that challenge us even more so than ever. Those are the ones that are cutting our throats, stabbing us in the back. And I'm just being real. And it happens. It is. So those are a lot of things that we deal with, but we have overcome a lot of that. And it's going to continue to be a challenge, though. I will say that. But I know that we're up for the challenge, and we definitely can handle it. But that's something that we face often. And I will say, although I am a licensed firearm instructor, so I can shoot better than all the men in my department. I'm an instructor, so I teach other candidates that are going through the police academy. I do that as well. So I'm up for the challenge for everything that comes my way. So I have to be.
So, Constable Hammond, what advice would you give to young women, especially women of color, who are considering a career in law enforcement?
My advice to young women, especially women of color, I would first tell them don't shrink to fit in. This is a tough profession. And so you can't shrink what you have going on because that's the expectation. Kind of what Constable Gulley just spoke on. You're going to face those challenges and they're going to come for you. So you got to bring your full self into it. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and academically. You have to be educated and because you're going to face those challenges. So you got to know what you're talking about because they're coming for you. So you got to be ready. And for me, the biggest thing is be bold. Protect your integrity. Walk in knowing you deserve to be in that room. Okay? You deserve to be there. Excellence is your standard. Integrity is your armor. And your presence will change rooms, even when people don't say it out loud. Okay? So for me, the profession needs leaders who reflect communities that they serve. And when I walk in a room, I walk in just that way. I walk in boldly. I walk in like I run the runway. And that's the way I walk in that room. And I hear them say it. She walk in like she running things. I am. And that's what I would tell young women of color.
And Constable, you forgot one more fashionable. That the hat is the signature. I love it. I love it. Sheriff Brown, What is your legacy for the next generation of women in law enforcement?
Well, I think that could have been the question that you put to the constables, because it's already been addressed. It's a fact that as women, it is inherent that we are going to be challenged at whatever it is that we do, whether it is the thing that needs to be done or not. We're going to be challenged. And so I have to agree with what has already been said. We have to be bold, but in order to be bold, you have to first learn your craft. You have to know it. Constable, you have to be as good and better as your counterparts. And then, again, walk in the room like it belongs to you, especially if it does belong to you. Because here's the trick. Some folks expect you to shrink back, Constable, despite the fact that you are in that capacity. And so my tendency is to demand respect through the work that I do. And that is the legacy that I hope to leave for others, is that you learn your craft and you do it, and do it well, regardless of what people say. You better put your focus where your focus is supposed to be, and that's what you need to do. As long as you're doing that, let them say, do, cry about whatever they want. Put your focus where it's supposed to be, and do the work. And that's what I say. Don't be afraid to do the work. If you call yourself a pioneer, guess what? You are going to be poked at, but you have to do the work. Focus, learn it, and then do it. Walk straight on through it. It's okay. What they're saying, what they're doing, it's okay. Do the work. That's what I say. And so I encourage anyone who comes behind me. When I was elected, I was appointed my first year, as you said, Judge, but I was actually elected. I've been elected 6 times since then. And so as the elected sheriff, when I encounter conflict, when I encounter challenges, then I have to remember that I am a pioneer. So there are going to be those challenges for me. And I have to remember that's okay. I'm up to the task. You know, we have a joke about some folks saying the mean old sheriff. I'm okay with that. Because if everybody is happy, I must not be doing my job right. Because I'm going to do what needs to be done. And if I'm doing what needs to be done, there are probably some people who are not pleased because, you know, well, that's not how we've always done it. That's not the way we do it. Okay, that's okay. But we're doing it differently now. And you have to be okay with saying we're going to do it differently. And then do it. So there you have it. Thank you, Judge.
So I just want you all to know I'm taking notes. I hope you guys are taking notes. We have to build trust, be bold, do the work, make sure y'all taking notes. So I'm going to shift a little bit, and I'll let anybody answer this one. But what strategies have you implemented to build trust both within your team and within the community that you all serve?
I spoke on that a little bit earlier, and that's kind of being visible. And we all kind of said a little bit about doing the work. So I'm not going to ask my deputies. I'm not going to ask anything of them that I haven't done before. I get out there and I serve papers. I go do protective orders with them. If CPS calls and we're down and we don't have manpower, I go out and I pick up children with them. We do the work. And if I have a bailiff out, I go bailiff the courts. You're going to see Constable Hammond in the courtrooms. You're going to see her. You're going to see her doing the work. And deputies respect that. The community respects that. They're surprised to see the constable with her red hat in the courtroom bailiffing the court. But that's what you are supposed to do. You don't have a good team if you're not leading that way. because you're only as good as your team. And so when people tell me, oh my God, Constable, you're doing great, you're doing good in the community. No, my team is great. And I'm nothing without my team. I am nothing without my team. And so for me, if I'm instilling in them the right things, then they're going forward to do the good things. And then when it comes to the community, that's the same thing. While they're out serving the papers, my job is to be in the community. My job is to be at the schools. While these parents elected me, they want me to go to the schools. They want me to read to their babies. They want me to educate the youth. They want me to talk to them about gun violence. They want me to talk to them about drugs. That is my job. And so if I don't have anything else, I have my word. And my word was to be out in that community, be visible, and be there for their babies. And if you don't have anything else in this profession, you have to have your word. You have to make sure that they trust you. You have to be accountable. You have to be visible, and you have to be transparent.
Sorry, can I add on? Yeah. So I think especially when it comes to a DA's office, right? Having the experience of being a loved one of someone impacted by the justice system, I relate to the community in that way because oftentimes when they don't trust you, it's not because they want to not trust you, right? They want to have a good relationship with the DA's office. I think it's because there's the lack of willingness to be open and explain things to them, right? They're not going to always agree with the decision that you make, but if they understand why you made the decision, that's key. And you have to care enough to say, this is how the system works. Right. And I think a lot of times we talk about reforming the system. I don't believe in reforming a system that's operating the way it was designed to operate. Right. You have to rebuild a system that answers to all people. And so you have to be willing to have the conversations with people, to educate people, because knowledge is power. We say it all the time like it's, some haphazardly, but that's really important to share information with people because the laws come out of Austin and then we implement them. Right. And the people are like, what? Why did you do this? And they don't understand that what we really need to be doing is going to Austin more, right? And holding the legislature accountable because we can only work with what we have, right? So I think that's one reason why I've been able to build a lot of trust with people in the community because I'm accessible, because I'm going to talk to you and not at you. And because I'm going to welcome you into this space because this building, the 11th floor, the 10th floor, what have you, it didn't belong to me. It belongs to the people. We will answer to the people. And they trust me in the community because they know that.
We are more than the constables sometimes. So the oath that we've taken, not just to serve as the constable, sometimes we're the cat catcher. We're having to call animal control, or Miss Johnson down the streets wants you to drive through the alley because her grandkids are out there acting. I mean, everything that you can imagine. But I will tell you one thing that I tell my deputies every single day: treat people the way that you want to be treated, not how they curse at you or talk to you or treat you, but put yourself on the other side of that door, because 90% of the time we are taking away someone's home that they've lived there for over 30 years or more. We're taking away your children, not by choice, but by court order, whether we're taking them to CPS or giving them to another parent or something of that nature that's going on. So sometimes we're considered the bad person, but we have a job to do, and that's it. We have a court order, and we are doing that job. But other than just being respectful, and you have to be compassionate about this job. You really do. So don't let the uniform fool you. I mean, we're mothers, we're grandmothers, aunts, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, I shed some tears too. But, we put on this tough role sometimes, but we're human. So, well, I'm sorry, Sheriff. I'm sorry. Well, okay. I'm sorry, Sheriff. But behind the uniform, I'm just like you.
Know if you all have questions, but I'm going to open it up to you guys. Anybody have a question?
Evans about rebuilding the system, because the system has to evolve because people are evolving. So it cannot stay there. Sheriff Brown, when you said that they make the statement about that's not how we used to do it, they're really stating that's now how he used to do it. So one last thing, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I came in late. Are you the first African-American sheriff? Yes. Okay, because I didn't hear that part.
I said it. I said it. I gave everybody their first. Their first. Yes. Okay, right here.
Hello? Okay. How's everybody doing today? I'm Chief Deputy Penny. I work underneath Constable Hammond's leadership. I have a question for Judge Givens or elect DA. You spoke of trying to get a process for, I guess, releasing, trying to handle your jail population, correct? And reducing that to people that don't really need to be there. Similar to Harris County. I know a little bit about that, but let me ask you how you plan on handling the misdemeanor cases like DWIs and family violence, those type cases where we're releasing people back out to go recommit again and they're back in there again. And then second part of that question is cases like murder suspects. How are you going to handle that as far as not booking them in fully until you get intake prosecutors? Are we hiring new prosecutors down there 24/7? Is that where the frontline money is going to be coming from? Having to hire more intake prosecutors to decide probable cause?
So, I'll start with this, and I think it's a conversation that everybody's been wanting to have with me. Is she coming in cutting off heads, right? I am not coming in cutting off heads, okay? I think what some people forget about me is that I was a line prosecutor. What does that mean? I've been in your shoes, line prosecutors, if you're in here, right? I was a prosecutor in New York. I was a prosecutor in Fort Bend County, and I happen to have been a prosecutor here in Dallas County before I took the bench. So I know what it means to go through an election and have a change of guards, right? It doesn't mean that heads get chopped off, all right? I'm a slayer, I think I heard. That's not the case, because as you ask about where these prosecutors are going to come from, right? The prosecutors that want to stay at the county will stay at the county if they want to do the work. But we're going to do the work, okay? Now, with that said, there are 18 people in the intake department right now. You didn't know that, right? There are 18 prosecutors in the intake department. So I don't need to hire any new prosecutors in the intake department because I got 18 that work there, right? And so it's really about us converting the use of those prosecutors, right? Now, when you talk about, you said something about the jail intake, or POP. Now, she can testify what kind of responses I used to give jail POP. They were very informed responses. They were very, let me hold everybody in the system accountable responses, right? Because I think sometimes we lay it at the foot of the judge when the judge only controls what the judge controls. So I say that to say, this idea about converting intake is not about jail POP, right? That's not what it's about for me. It's about justice. Because if you need to be in jail, then that's justice, right? So for me, it's not about, oh, I want to make the commissioners happy. You can report it back now. And I'm concerned about this jail POP. No, I think when you do the work the right way, the jail POP is going to be what it needs to be, right? And so it's not about releasing. It's about, do we have the evidence? Because what I know from being on the bench 10 years here in Dallas, almost 11, is that we had cases come through grand jury where I had already set the case for trial and we're still waiting on records, right? What we have to understand and appreciate is law enforcement, their job is probable cause. DA's responsibility is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The oath you take as a prosecutor is you don't prosecute cases you can't prove, no matter how badly somebody wants you to. I'm going to uphold that promise, and I'm going to always explain to you why, right? And so it's not about jail POP for me, because when you're doing the work the right way, the jail POP is going to be what it's supposed to be. But I'm going to tell you that you will see a difference when you have the kind of intake that Harris County has, right? And I think I also may have heard something about prosecutors being afraid that they're going to work 24 hours a day, right? That, Kim, one of y'all, please call the prosecutors in Harris County. That is not the way that works. Relax, Okay. Prosecutors in Harris County make a lot of extra money because they get paid time and a half to voluntarily work those shifts at intake that are not assigned during the day and the night, right? So I think what we have to understand, we always celebrate and applaud the change that we've talked about here. But then when it's doing the work to see the change, everybody wants to cry about it. Let's do the work. Let's answer to the people, and let's put aside any personal preferences we have, right? Because the law didn't ask if you like something. The law said this is what it is, right? And so we are going to do the work in Dallas County. We collectively are going to do the work in Dallas County. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Any other questions? This side of the room? No? Nobody? Oh, all right. This side is winning over here.
DA Givens, you said some really interesting things, and part of jail population is we deal with a lot of mental illness. And part of your statement was about the laws that are passed that impact jail population. And I do believe that is a big thing. If we have a law that says that you can bring somebody to the jail if there's not a bed available, how do we manage that? Or do you have some idea that, because I know the DA office is a transcender in how they're set up for mental illness?
This is what we call the transition period between the election and between when I actually take office. And the great thing is I've been doing so much work. I think I've taken more trips during this transition period than I have in a very long time because I was too afraid, commissioners, to take a vacation. I got to I got to poke a little bit. In jest and in love. But no, I say that because I just went to Miami. Maybe it was April. I went to Miami because Florida has a thing called the Baker Act, right? And it is beautiful how it works. They invited a number of us from Dallas County down to see how the Baker Act works. And they have housing where you divert people from the justice system into receiving the services that they need. And I know we have, we are starting, we're doing the work here, but if we're able to get our legislature to adopt something similar to the Baker Act, we'll be in a better place. And in June, they're actually coming from Miami to come here to show even more stakeholders what that looks like and how it plays out. And so if we're able to implement something like the Baker Act in Florida, where literally you were looking at the person and saying, why are you here? Right. Are you here because you actually, we need to be talking about the punishment side of this? Or are you here because in life you've been met with so many different things, i.e. maybe a diagnosis of some sort, and for whatever reason, we continue to see you cycling through? And is there something that we can do to address that? They even have a residential center that is not open yet, but people with and without criminal charges will be able to reside there and receive all the services that they need. And so I'm just excited about the work that I was invited to observe, and in hopes that we are able to see something like that here in Texas. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. If you all can just really quick, we had a question on the teams. Are there any internships for college students pursuing law enforcement within any of your departments?
Okay, well, I'm gonna pass this real quick. So yes, again, I'm working, this is called the transition period. So if you know interns that are looking to do some work and some research, please have them email info@ambergivens.com. That would be the easiest way. So info@ambergivens.com.
And I think that, I don't know if this works. They put it over here, but I'm not sure if it works. For Constable Hammond, yes, we do internships in my office as well. And you can reach out to Constable 2 questions for my office at dallascounty.com, and we'll take care of that at Dallas County Precinct 2. But we do have room for interns in our office as well. Whether you want to be interested in law enforcement or just you're going to school for any type of law enforcement, criminal justice, anything like that. On the clerical side, we have a lot of things open for interns in our office.
And yes, in the criminal justice department, we definitely have internship opportunities. And I think it's a really neat opportunity to not just see how an independent office operates, but how the system operates. And so we try to give interns experience in a window into how all of the things work together. And so if you're interested in internship, please visit the website for the Dallas County Criminal Justice Department. I believe there is contact information there. Or you can reach out to jessica.gamez, Gamez, at dallascounty.org. She is our internship coordinator.
And I do know that both of the Justice of the Peace at Precinct 1 do have internships at Precinct 1. So we offer that as well.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a question on this side.
I do. I couldn't let this side of the room go with 0 scores. So the question that I have is for Judge Givens as well as Charlene Randolph. So what leadership qualities do you believe are most important for building trust and collaboration across departments within the Criminal Justice Department?
Everything we do in the Criminal Justice Department is based on trust and collaboration. We have a huge mission, but we are the boss of no one. Everything we do is because we work really hard to help have shared outcomes and also shared accountability across our system partners, and in the way that we do our business, which is built on trust. If I say I'm going to do it, you can count on me being able to do it, or I'm going to follow through with that. So I do think that trust is built on transparency and follow through. There is nothing that we don't publish, the things that we do in our department. And again, if we say we are going to do something, we really try to follow through with that. I also think that that gives people a window of what they can expect when they contact our department, or even when they contact me. I believe a value that I value in being a leader in Dallas County is that people understand and they can predict the experience that they're going to get when they encounter me. You may not always agree with me. You may not always agree with my decisions, my philosophy, or how I run my department. But whenever you encounter me, it is built on respect, mutual respect. And I am here to listen and try to figure out how we can get to a collective wins. I always talk about my goal in every interaction is to try to get to a yes. Sometimes that's not possible. And I let my no's be my no's. But because you know and you can expect that, I believe that that helps build trust and, again, predictability. And when you encounter anyone in our department, I'd also say that trust, not just between departments within the county, but also trust in the community. The community knows when they reach out to the Criminal Justice Department that we're going to answer. We're going to try to get an answer or get them in contact with someone that could help them. So I think that trust is important, not just in Dallas County, but also that the community knows that they have someone that can at least try to help fill their questions, and also to help ensure that they understand that we are trying to do things to help build a fair and just system.
So one thing that I can promise is you will always be heard. I think the willingness to listen is key, right? Because as we just heard, it's not going to always be we always agree, right? But you're always going to know that I heard your perspective and I made an informed decision. And I think that is really key, because you have all these departments trying to work together for should be one goal, right? And with that said, there are going to be differing opinions about a lot of different things. But the idea that we can come sit at a table, we can all be heard, and then we're going to all walk out feeling like we literally had a seat at the table. Because sometimes, you walk into a room and they had a chair for you. You sat in it, but it didn't really feel like you had a place at the table. You're going to always know that you had a place at the table with me, even if you don't agree with my ultimate decision.
Well, I just want to say thank you all for your leadership, your transparency, and your service to our community. Your experience, your commitment to public safety continue to pave the way for future generations of women in law enforcement. Today's conversations reminded us that leadership is not only about enforcing the law, but also about building trust, creating opportunities, and strengthening the communities that we serve. On behalf of everyone here, thank you all for the impact you make every day across Dallas County. We appreciate your dedication, your courage, and your service. Thank you.
All right, all right. Let me just pay some bills, as they say in marketing. I'm Jesse Crawford, Director of the Office of Small Business Enterprise, as well as Community Impact. Thank you again for sharing your time with us today with these great leaders. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. We also have some refreshments on the way out, so please feel free to grab some. And also parking vouchers for those who parked. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. One of my favorite Bible verses is Romans 12:2, that talks about being transformed. And so I just appreciate what you guys are doing, you ladies are doing, excuse me, in your roles, because we already know about toxic masculinity, right? We know all the things that, men have done in the history of this world. But when you're in these key positions that were male dominated, but now you're pioneering, to the sheriff's point, you're transforming. You're being renewed in your spirit and approaches. And I really appreciate that, because we don't need the same. We need to be elevated. So thank you so much. And just a few comments here that I captured. I call these jewels, right? Did y'all catch these? Please write them down. Get ahead of the crisis. Prepare and stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. Lead from the front and be willing to lead by example. Another one was practice listening. Oh, Lord, do we need to listen? People generally want to be heard, and in the community, they want us to show respect, right? This is a great one. There's a responsibility with the power that we have, okay? And thinking about how we all operate in and across systems. This was Ms. Randolph. I love this. We are one Dallas County. When I worked in previous jobs, we said this: we all carry the same flag, we wear the same jerseys, okay? So regardless of where we work, we're one Dallas County. I love that. That is powerful. We want to improve the outcomes in the lives of those whom we serve. Here's a great one. Don't shrink to fit in. I think that was the Constable there, all right? Don't shrink. Face challenges and prepare yourself mentally, physically, and academically. Be bold, protect your integrity, walk in it. Boldly, own your boldness, all right? I always say this: a lion can't be a hyena, okay? I'm not going to cut my mane because you don't like it, all right? Keep that in mind. Be bold. Lastly, learn your craft, do it well, regardless of what people say, do, or promote. Do the work. Sheriff Brown, you was preaching on that one. All right, and the last few. Pioneers have to remember that they will be challenged. Let me say that one more time. Pioneers have to remember you will be challenged. If some people are not happy because I'm doing my job, that is okay. Sheriff Brown, you blessed us today, all of you. Thank you so much. We are full, so grab some refreshments. Enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless you. Thank you.